Hello and welcome back to Mayster Reviews. Today I'm going to talk about the final film of November 2022, Roald Dahl's Matilda the Musical. Now, what can I say? This is how you do a musical adaptation for the screen. Sometimes it did come across that it was a stage show with a very sort of presentable aesthetic, as in the performances are done in front of your eyes as if you were watching it on a stage rather than in a cinematic format. Though other times they were done through abstract sequences that made it seem like, yes, this was meant for the big screen and meant in a cinematic context. And it definitely takes a massive leap away from that 90s film with Danny DeVito as Mr. Wormwood. And I think I definitely commend it for that. Now, there's a couple of things I can talk about here. Well, I'm not going to talk about the songs because we all know that the songs are absolutely fantastic. And in my personal opinion, I think Matilda is one of, if not the greatest West End musicals of all time. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. But going off of that, there are two main talking points, as I've just said, that I think I can really dive deep in with this film. One is performances, and the other is identity. So I'll go into performances first. So Mrs. Wormwood does a fine job, the actress who plays Mrs. Wormwood, and a bit filler. Like it's not, she wasn't essentially cast for that role. I feel she did a perfectly fine job. Stephen Graham does a great job as well. Stephen Graham, fantastic actor, and he does a great job, Mr. Wormwood, as well. But I feel as if other actors could have done it. He didn't make me completely. He didn't show that he was the character. He was just yeah. It was. I feel as if he did a perfectly reasonable job. The Wormwoods, that's what they did to me. Emma Thompson's Trunchbull was a bit of a weird take, but I ended up quite liking her in the end in the role. She wasn't completely perfect, and her vocal performance wasn't 100% up to par. But yeah, I think she did a very passable job. The same with the rest of them. Lashana Lynch, I do not like as Miss Honey. I think the energy that she brings to it, that is that there's just something about her that I'm not seeing as very sweet, and and her vocals are not what I would imagine Mrs. Honey's to be, or Miss Honey's to be. It just seemed like a bit of star casting with star appeal, that role. I didn't feel as if it was Miss Honey was accurately cast in this case. I think Know Me from No Time to Die is a perfect role for Lashana Lynch, and in The Woman King as well, but not in this one. I feel this was a bit out of place for Lashana Lynch. But you never guess what? I think by a mile the best performer in the entire film is our star, new upcoming actress in recent years, Alicia Weir. If I'm pronouncing that right, is now I think 13 or something, but a lot younger. She looks about 7 in this film, 7-8 years old, and she is one of the most charismatic. But she's probably the most charismatic performance I've seen on screen all year. She's so magnifying to the audience in a way that you're just completely transfixed on her every facial expression. She is the perfect Matilda. And when I found out that she wasn't Matilda on the West End currently, I thought it was a crime. She is so good in the role. She was born to play it. And I can only applaud the casting directors who found her, because the way she embodies that role she is Matilda. She is exactly what I would expect an adaptation of that original Roald Dahl novel to be. And for that, the film shot up in my rankings just because of her performance alone. Now, speaking of that original novel, it's now time to talk about identity. So, with this film, I feel there were very, very small elements that could have been directed by Tim Burton. Very small elements, not much. Really not much. But I thought this film came more across outside of her home life. It seemed like a David Walliams novel come to life. Inside her home life, and especially in the opening sequences, it felt very much like a Dr. Seuss film. I didn't feel the spirit of Roald Dahl in this film. That's what I will say. I felt the spirit of Matilda and the spirit of those other external influences that I've just described. But as for Roald Dahl and what is at the heart of Roald Dahl's stories, I don't think there is an adaptation of that novel to date that has captured that aside from the actual show. Both films, I think, stray away from it a bit. Whereas in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory's case, I'm not sure about the 2005 one, not entirely. I think it does to an extent, but that original film, in my opinion, the 70s one, if it was in the 70s, I think it was, completely captures the spirit of that original novel, whereas these elements here of Matilda don't so much. But other than that, I would say this was a brilliant film. I know myself and my family I went to go see it with, absolutely loved it. And yeah, this is one hell of a watch for streaming when you can get your hands on it. And when you see this, when you see this, these videos will be coming out next week. When at the time of recording, it will probably still be in cinemas, and I've finally caught up to the point where the films I'm covering are still in cinemas. So 100%, I recommend you go watch it before it leaves, and you'll get a quieter screen roundabout now to yourself that won't be very occupied, and you can just have a good fun time with your mates or specifically family. This is a great family film. So yes, that is my review of Roald Dahl's Matilda the Musical. Next time I will be going into December 2022's territory as I start to round out the year. But yeah, that's it for November. And yeah, I will see you next time on Mayster Reviews. Goodbye.